Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way morning briefing live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10, and I'm joined today by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay on our Twitter handle. And yes, in a James Brown style, I'm back. So get up off of that thing. Dance, you better get up off of that thing. Right, there we go. How are we doing? Happy Monday, Ryan. There you go.
I said before the briefing, you can't use James Brown. That's like Ross County scorer.
Well, do you prefer 76 trombones in the victory? That better, is it? Is that you enjoying that? Anyway,
See what better,
you probably gathered, guys. I'm back after 2 weeks holiday. Hope you all missed me. Anyway, season's back, Ryan. Happy Monday. Celtic 4, Ross County 2. There we have it. Lots of people having their say. I'm going to start by saying a win's a win for all that, Ryan. Right? We will work on style, we will work on presentation, we will work on all sorts of things under Brendan Rodgers, but you've got to get that first win under your belt and take it from there. Lots of positives. I'd like to probably focus on the positives. It's easy to be negative, isn't it, guys? It's easy to slate individuals and slate the performance, but first and foremost, Ryan, a win, some good goals, some good individual performances, some tweaks here and there. Did you enjoy it?
For the most part, yeah, I did enjoy it, especially in an attacking sense. I thought Celtic looked absolutely electric when they were going forward, especially in that counter-attack when Ross County were pushing up the pitch, and then all of a sudden the counter-attack was on in that transition, and Leila Bada was running at that Ross County back line. They looked frightened every time. Kyogo dropping deep. We'll probably talk about that more as the video goes on, but it seems like a position he was born to play for in that deep line playmaker role, or the sort of like a not a false nine, because he was still scoring goals, and goals are his main aim of the game. But he was making himself an extra midfielder and being an absolute nuisance to the Ross County players. Yes, some tweaks here and there are needed, especially defensively. We'll probably get onto that as well. But there's teething issues. A debut happened in the middle of the park as well, in the middle of the defence rather. These things happen. I'd rather they happen at the first day of the season rather than halfway through. 3 points on the board. Can't really complain about that. We will improve on certain aspects, as we said, defensively. But all in all, 4 goals, a win at home on Flag Day, and start as you mean to go on.
Yes, indeed, start as you mean to go on, and a win on Flag Day. That was all that mattered, Ryan. Anybody the pick of the bunch for you? Lots of people saying that they thought Kyogo was the man of the match. It was given to David Turnbull, who scored twice. We'll talk about him. You mentioned the debut for, I'm going to call him Rocky, because I'm not too sure of how you pronounce his second name. Nawrocki, right, okay, Nawrocki.
That was what Ian Crocker was saying during the game, so that's what I'm going by.
Nawrocki, okay. Nawrocki, we'll go with that, but we'll call him Rocky. Thought he did okay, so looked comfortable, certainly with a ball at his feet, and there was one pass in particular, the lofted pass forward, the high one, who I think was it Dizamida, just failed to control, which I thought was excellent, really good bit of vision. So, yep, really good from him. Great to see Cameron Carter-Vickers back, as if he's never been away. Just adds that extra layer of comfort, doesn't he? And just strolled through it again. Ralston certainly looked like a player coming back from injury. If you compare and contrast him to Carl Starfelt, wasn't Taylor one of Taylor's better games, to be fair, So, but as I say, we'll pick through the bones of it as we're moving along. But I think a lot of people were expecting maybe possibly too much, Ryan, from Saturday. Lots of people felt it was a bit flat, but I was happy enough because I know they will get better. And the times that they did get it right, the second goal in particular was great. Brilliant header from Turnbull, Abada's first time pass, Kyogo's first time shot at goal. That's very hard to defend against. So when they got it right, they were bang on the money. So we're just hoping that they can marry that and knit that together more often than not this season.
Listen, it's all about starting the season strong. You know, not all teams can say that they did that over the weekend, unfortunately. But, you know, Celtic did what they had to do on the park and got the 3 points. Ross County, I thought, especially in the first 15, 16 minutes of the game, were really giving it to Celtic. I think they got 4 or 5 corners and they really looked up for it. I thought in particular, now, you don't want to talk about opposition players too much, but I think Jan Danda, who was in the middle for Ross County, was a real standout. Brendan Rodgers knows all about him because he had him in Liverpool's academy back in, I think it was 2013, so they were around about the same time when the two of them were at the club. He looked as if he was a player that was on a mission. He got 3 key passes in the game, including 1 assist. I think he's a player that could probably take the step up from Ross County, and judging by that performance, I wouldn't be surprised if other people are watching him or other clubs. But yeah, it was a solid win at the end of the day. You know, I think the goal at the end, the deflected goal, really soured it just a tad, because 4-1 looked really, really comfortable, whereas 4-2 made it look as if it was a far more competitive game than what it was, especially in the second half. But yeah, two goals, goal difference is +2. Start as you mean to go on. I can't really complain at this moment in time. We'll have tougher tests, obviously, starting next week against Aberdeen at Pittodrie, you would imagine. But 3 points on the board, cannot complain. Start as you mean to go on. I must have said that about 4 times in this podcast already, but it's important to get that hammered down. Brendan Rodgers' first competitive game back, and he's got 3 points on the board. So all's good here.
Turnbull your man of the match, Ryan? Or was Kyogo your man of the match? Or
I think O'Reilly's up there as well, to be honest. Yeah. Anyone in that central position out of those 3 players, for everything good that came from Celtic came from those 3 players. Turnbull really taking the opportunity when it came to him. I thought he did really well against Athletic Club during the week or last week when he was given his opportunity. Really, that finish for that 3rd goal, he really sat down Spain's national goalkeeper, sent him the other way with that shot. Aiden always talks about it on these briefings or the post-match reactions, that the way that Turnbull strikes a ball is so satisfying, and that is very much true, especially from the penalty spot, you would say as well, because Celtic haven't had a designated penalty taker, it seems like, for the past 2-3 years, so it's good to have somebody come in and just take the initiative and take that slot as his own. 2 goals for him this season already. Matt O'Reilly with some great work as well for Turnbull's 2nd goal. And then I think the pick of the bunch was that 4th goal, the touch from Kyogo and then the finish from Matt O'Reilly. That's exactly what I want to see from those 2 players going forward. Yeah. And they look as if they've been not rejuvenated, but they've evolved already under Brendan Rodgers, and I'm really excited to see where they go from here, from this moment.
Well, Turnbull told us at one point last season, on the season before, he likes to put some schwaz on the ball. That's what he called it when he hits a ball. So Aidan will know all about that. Turnbull hits it with a bit of schwaz, you know, usual spelling. We were like, sorry, what? Making up words, but hey, we rolled with it, as they say. But yeah, no, I was delighted with Turnbull, and also the fact that Turnbull got the nod over Haggerty, Ryan, which might have been a big surprise to a lot of people. Now, I'm going to say that I think that was a statement by Brendan Rodgers, a statement team saying, you know, I want to know who I can trust and who's with me, who's here for the long term and who's not. And if you're thinking about your future and it lies elsewhere, then you won't play for my team. Now, I'm not saying that's happening with Rio Haggerty, but I just thought it was a wee warning shot over the bow for players to think that there's no comfort zone at Celtic. Mm-hmm. You know, you will never hit a comfort zone under Brendan Rodgers. You will not be an automatic first team pick. You will pick the team based on merit and what he sees. And I quite actually liked that, because I thought, okay, keeps good players on their toes as well, like Haggerty too. And if Celtic are going to lose Haggerty, I'd rather it was done sooner rather than later, Ryan. I'm not saying he is. I haven't heard that. And all sorts of people telling me about studying body language and all that. I just want players, when they come onto the park, to do their utmost for the club and help them get results. And I trust the manager. You know, when Ange came in, you were told to trust the process. So what's the difference between Ange Postecoglou and Brendan Rodgers? So Brendan Rodgers is going through a process just now with tweaking the team, tweaking the formation, tweaking the philosophy, tweaking the style. So I'm trusting the manager and he still called it right on Saturday because Turnbull scored twice, and it remains to be seen what will happen moving forward towards the end of the window if Haggerty remains or not. No doubting that Haggerty is one of the most gifted midfielders in the league. He was arguably the player of the season last year. Could have got that had he not got injured. But I just thought, okay, Brendan's making a wee statement there, and he did.
Yeah, I've made it no secret that Rio Haggerty is my favourite player in this current Celtic side. He's an absolute joy to watch, and I'm not a massive fan of all the discourse that's going on online when we're reading into everything that a player does, because these videos at the end of the day, they're only taking 20 seconds out of 24 hours of a day.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what is going on with Rio Haggerty. What I do know is that when he came onto the pitch against Ross County, he had a good performance. He came on and for 20 minutes was really good. The Rio Haggerty we all know and love as part of the Celtic team. If Celtic are going to lose Haggerty, yes, I would agree with you in saying that I would rather it happen sooner rather than later. It'll be for a big fee because he's well under contract. He's one of Celtic's biggest assets, and I don't think it's outrageous to suggest that he walks into most sides down south out with maybe the top six. I think teams like Brighton, I think, will be the team that come in and sort of make a push from, especially with the Moises Caicedo deal drawing ever closer. They'll have a lot of money to spend, and Celtic should take advantage of that if Brighton do come in with an offer. They'll have a spare 80-90 million once Caicedo comes in, so they can maybe stump up the prices for some of our players as a sort of as a sort of domino effect. Celtic could maybe get more than they would have intended. You want Celtic to be flexible and shrewd in the market, and that happens with outgoings as well as incomings. I know over the weekend Celtic again were linked with Tommy Doyle, who was at Sheffield United last season, who was arguably one of their players of the season. You see, whenever you type Tommy Doyle's name into Twitter, you hear Sheffield United fans desperate for him back for the Premier League campaign. At the moment, he's still at Man City, but his numbers were good last season. He's one of the standout players in the Championship. If he was to come in, you would assume that somebody would go out because the midfield is already looking a bit packed, especially with Turnbull's re-emergence into the first team. So if you put two and two together, you need all the murmurings going about or the rumours, then you would expect that to be Haggerty's replacement. But as long as the person that's coming in is good enough to fill Haggerty's boots and the way in which he runs games almost single-handedly, then I've got no problems with it. But it'll be a very, very difficult task to replace somebody with the quality, agility, and technique as Rio Haggerty. I just hope whatever happens, whether he stays or whether he goes, it happens quickly and Celtic can bring in a replacement as soon as, because the season started and it'll take time for players to gel.
That's my thoughts exactly. Now, I don't particularly want Haggerty to leave. I think he's one of the better players at the club, and he was one of those better players that kept Turnbull out the team for long periods last season. Turnbull enjoying the wee kind of renaissance under Brendan Rodgers, but that's what Brendan Rodgers does. He makes good players better, and I'm all for that, and I'm all for having a competitive midfield again, Ryan, with guys vying for those starting jerseys, and even Haggerty. But couple of people coming in with their comments on Haggerty, and I'll read them out. Sam Hartley agrees with you. Haggerty's his favourite player too. Ryan, now I'm stressing, I don't want Haggerty to leave. I think he's a phenomenally gifted footballer. I'm not saying that there's an attitude problem there. I'm not reading into any body language, which some people are doing. Listen, if he wants to stay, he'll stay. And if Brendan Rodgers and Celtic decide that he wants to leave, or he's told, indicates that he wants to leave, then he'll leave. So, but I just want it to all get sorted because the season has started now. The ball's rolling. It's serious business, and I don't want anything to detract from what Celtic are trying to achieve this season. And Patrick McLaughlin saying if Haggerty's attitude is wrong, he should go before it affects the other Japanese lads. Jill Pill says, keep Haggerty. Pete McGee, if we sell Haggerty, then Celtic have no ambition. I think there's an argument in there, Pete McGee, for that. But again, if he's an unhappy player, correct. It depends who you place him with. Don't know if he's unhappy. I'm just throwing these comments out there to see what people think. And Ian McIntosh, Green, myself, Brendan may be giving Hatate some tough love, stating that he's not an automatic choice. Turnbull agrees with Pete that if we sell Hatate, then Celtic have no ambition. Chris Cross saying Hatate is superb at times, but if he's not interested in a chat and his attitude is off, then they'd be as well getting rid. So I'm going to trust the manager completely and implicitly on this. And Celtic Fantastics and 1888, being realistic, Celtic would be lucky to get more than 15 million for Rio. Not so sure about that. John, he's 3 years left on his deal, isn't he? I think you're talking certainly upwards of 20 plus, to be fair.
I think that would be a scandalous amount if Celtic got that.
That's fine, but he's
what game do they want to loan him for, if that's the case?
He's only worth what someone's willing to pay. Anyway,
very true.
I don't want to talk about Hatate leaving. I was just throwing that out there in terms of the team selection, Ryan, where Turnbull was given a nod over Hatate and just
took his opportunity.
Yes, of course. And I thought Hatate was excellent when he came on as well. So I love that. I love that it's great.
Competition.
And you have to realise now that it's a squad game and you're going to get minutes. So whether you're on for 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. You have to impact the game. And Hatate certainly impacted the game when he came on. And I enjoyed his performance. I enjoyed Turnbull's performance. And I also enjoyed Odin Thiago Holmes' performance when he came on.
Yeah, I've really, really enjoyed watching his small cameo appearances. It does remind you a wee bit of Hatate as well, but maybe with a wee bit more dig in the middle of the park in terms of tackling. It seems to be whenever he drops his shoulder, he's going to get past his man. He's got that movement in him very early on. He looks like a very polished and assured 20-year-old player. Now, you see some youngsters coming into the team. It's almost quite offensive to call him a youngster because he's made over nearly around 100 appearances in senior football. So, he's not really a youngster. He's an old 20-year-old if you can get that. Whereas Hatate is a bit of a young 25-year-old. I say that as I'm 25, but you know what I mean in a football sense. He's not got that. He's got a lot of mileage on the legs despite being only 20 years old. I think he looks like he's going to be a guy that can come in and compete. And you're hoping that maybe he can even take some of the pressure off of Callum McGregor in home games. If maybe, again, I don't want to see the lesser sides, but maybe more favourable ties against Celtic, Odin Holm could come in and sort of cement his place as part of a rotational player. At 20 years old, I don't think he'll be expecting to start every single week for the team. But as long as he's coming on, making an impact in most games and maybe getting the odd start here or there, then I think he'll be quite happy with his lot because he's a development player as well. He's a first-team player, but he's also a development player. And Celtic will be hoping to make a good player out of him in the next 2-3 years. But the early signs look really, really promising. We talk about the eye test a lot on this morning briefing and on the post-match analysis, but he definitely does pass that with flying colours. He's very easy on the eye to watch when he's on the ball. He likes a tackle. He's a good passer of the ball. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him as the season goes on. But it looks like another good spot by Mark Lawwell and his recruitment team.
Yep. Guys, I think I neglected to mention this at the start, but if you like what we do, and we love what we do, we encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also subscribe to the website, and we'll endeavour to provide top quality football journalism covering the club you love. It's something that we all have a vested interest in. If you subscribe, you help us keep doing what we do. We can't do it without you. You just hit that subscribe button. You visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Something on the website for everybody. You've even started doing videos, Stats Bomb videos. Is that right, Ryan? It's a new thing that's coming in after every game. You're going to look at Stats Bomb and put a video up and talk us through that.
Yeah, it seems as if a lot of clubs are really incorporating stats, metrics and analytics into their game, and we endeavour to do the same in the Celtic way. So after every match day, I think I'm going to come on and do a Stats Bomb report, video format report. You'll find the full unabridged version on the Celtic Way website, but on YouTube you'll get a wee taster of all the analytics and the work that I do with regards to these Stats Bomb data analysis reports. So that's currently on the YouTube channel as well. It should be the featured video. If you click on the Celtic Way YouTube channel, then that should be the first video that comes up when you go on on our channel's page. So if you want to have a wee look at that, then please feel free. I appreciate any feedback that you want to give as well.
Yep, if that's your bag, get into that, young Ryan, on the Stats Bomb metrics. But yes, getting back to Saturday, and also Ryan, now what emerged from Saturday is that Carl Starfelt could well have played his last game for Celtic and could be on his way out, citing Brendan cited personal reasons and stuff, but this is what he said. He said, I wanted to put Carl Starfelt on because it might be his last game here. He has been a great servant to the club. There is interest in him and he would like to take up that possibility. We will resolve that as quickly as we can. The clubs are in communication, so I'm sure that will go through at some point early next week, if not before. He probably felt it was time to move on. There are certain conditions there that has made him think that he will go into one of the top leagues, and economically it's hard for Celtic to compete on that side, and obviously his partner is no longer here and has moved on. But I have to say he's been totally professional, first class, and if it didn't go through, I know I can rely on him, but I think it probably will. But this was the more crucial part of it. He said, yes, we'd need to get another centre half. The whole idea was to have 4 that would be competitive, and if Carroll was to go, we would bring in another one. Now, the talk is that he could be signing for Celta Vigo. Ryan, kind of latest state of play there, but it looks like Carl Starfelt is on his way out, but Brendan Rodgers has said that Celtic are actively going to go into the market and get another centre-half should he leave the door.
Yeah, I need to stop writing about these players because every time I seem to write about them, they leave the next week. Carl Starfelt was one of them. I was saying how happy I was that Nawrocki came in, but the fact is that there was now competition in that centre-half area. Now next week he's heading to Celta Vigo. I'm guessing he didn't read the article, which is quite gutting from my perspective. But yeah, it seems as if that'll be a when rather than an if. It seems like all the personal terms have been agreed. And I had a wee look at Celta Vigo. You know, they're managed by Rafa Benitez, so that's a pull in itself. Bit of an elite manager himself. He'll be leaving one elite manager in Rodgers to another, and Rafa Benitez. Both have managed Liverpool as well. So, yeah, there's that connection. It'll be a very difficult. I don't know. Maybe not difficult shoes to replace, but I think you'll miss him when he's gone. In terms of Starfelt, he's one of these guys that I think you'll miss him once he's not around the team anymore, and all the thankless work that he does as a defender. Yes, he does have a mistake in him, and that has happened a few times in his Celtic career. But I think on the whole, he's been a really really good signing and value for money for the $4 million that Celtic signed from him. You know, he was one half of arguably the best defensive partnership I've seen at Celtic in my Celtic supporting life. So you know, he must have something about him in order to make up half of that defensive partnership. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that come into it, you know. And I think this will be his last big or sort of big contract before his career winds down. He's 28 years old, so he'll have to look at the money involved and what he'll be getting, and also due to the fact he'll be living in Spain as well. You know, Spain is better than Scotland at the end of the day when it comes to weather. I can't really complain about that. He's moving to a top 5 league. He'll be playing in La Liga, coming up against Barcelona, Real Madrid, Athletic Club. So yeah, I can see why he wants to make this move. It'd be disappointing to see him go, but I'm happy that Brendan Rodgers has came out and said that we need another centre half in to compete. It's interesting when he said 4. Now that would you would assume that Carter Vickers and Nawrocki are 2 of them. Another player would be coming in that would make 3. So who is the 4th? Does that mean there's a bit of a renaissance for Liam Scales or Welsh? Does that mean that Bosun Lawal is going to be more fancied this season? Is that Iwata in the centre half position? You know, it's a bit of a mystery man who is this 4th player, unless Celtic are going to come in and bring 2 new centre halves in, which I don't think will be the case. But
no,
it'll be interesting. It'll be a watch this space. I think it'll be there'll be 3 solidified central defensive options and maybe a 1 rotational, so the player that's playing well makes up that 4th spot. But you know, it's very much up for grabs, and it's all up to the players that are at the club and for the player coming in, whoever that may be, to the club in a transfer to make that position their own.
Yeah, Andrew Gillier comes in and says he likes Starfelt.
Sorry,
yeah,
it's terrible.
You see, he likes Starfelt. Centre back's always a partnership, and him and CCV were a good one. And B comes in and says, Starfelt as a tomboy of the team. He did all the dirty work for next to no praise. But Celtic move on, and they do move on, and I think a lot of it was to do with these personal circumstances as well, with Jacinta leaving the club and stuff like that. So I think Brendan Rodgers alluded to that. So that's fair enough. We wish him well. If he does leave, he leaves with 2 titles to his name, and a treble, a double and a treble, doesn't he? So
5 trophies out of 6
trophies
in
out of
his
6,
time.
yeah.
You know, that sounds pretty dominant for a central defender for
Yeah.
me. I think if I know he's not left yet, but it looks like a when rather than if. But the game that springs to mind for me is that game at Ibrox, that 2-1 game that Carter Vickers and Rogic scored following Aaron Ramsey's early goal for Rangers. I thought the two of them, especially in the second half, but particularly Starfelt, you know, it was all backs to the wall defending for a good half an hour, 45 minutes of that game, and they passed it with flying colours. So, yeah, I think history will be very kind to Carl Starfelt looking back. You know, he came in straight off of isolation into that Hearts game, which was a bit of a nightmare of a debut, but, you know, I can't think of many more intimidating places to play your first game for Celtic. And, you know, after a bit of a shaky start, he really consolidated himself, and he was virtually ever present for Celtic as well.
Yeah.
You know, a good servant to the club, and I wish him all the best if and when this move does happen.
John Hill comes in and says Brendan needs top quality in. Celtic have the money, so a proven centre half is a must. I think they'll be working on that as we speak, if and when it proves to be that Carl Starfelt does leave the Celtic Park exit door, which we're expecting to go down at some point this week, certainly from what we're hearing. Blinded are back. Says Starfelt's been excellent front foot, I guess, a defender. Gutted he's leaving. There you go.
You just wonder who that player will be that Celtic will replace Starfelt with. Will it be another project player? Not a project player, but maybe of that profile that he's 21, 22, 23 years old that can come in, make a profit, or do you bring in somebody that's a bit more established? Because, you know, Carter Vickers is established, but he's still a young player as well. What is he, 23, 24, 25, that round about that age? Sometimes you forget how young he is with the way that he plays. He plays like a 28, 29-year-old in that defence. He is the man mountain that is, but it'd be interesting to see what player Celtic do bring in to replace Starfelt. I heard you hear rumours about potential players maybe incoming. Scott McKenna, it seems that he always gets linked with Celtic, particularly when Brendan Rodgers is in charge. I think this is what maybe this 5th or 6th consecutive window that Brendan Rodgers has been linked with Scott McKenna when he's the Celtic manager. It's an interesting one. I'm not sure what the wages would be with regards to that, but it would definitely fit the homegrown quota.
Scott McKenna's the new Hacking Yakin, isn't he? Back in the day, Hacking Yakin used to always be linked with Celtic. Or was it Kadlich, the Czech right back or full back, Michael Kadlich. So
you've got Melling was the one, I think, in my generation. Melling from Rosenborg. He seemed to get linked every window when the left back position used to be a bit of a problem following Kieran Tierney's exit. But you always have these players that are continually linked.
Yeah.
There must be something with regards to that. Maybe someone get a tip off and they hear that Celtic are interested, so they keep on batting about that name. But, you know, Scott McKenna is definitely if you trust all the reports, Brendan Rodgers is certainly a fan of the defender. He tried to get him when he was at Aberdeen, and that didn't really happen. But you never know this time around.
Now, we spoke about Turnbull, but I just wanted to say about Brendan Rodgers' comments on Turnbull, and this is what he said about Turnbull. He said he's a talent, and I remember seeing him when I was first up here, and I liked his game, and maybe he just hasn't quite hit the heights of what his talent is. I spoke to him in pre-season and told him it would be a shame if you don't achieve what you can do at a club like this because you have the talent, but you have to be a working talent. You have to be able to run and be aggressive in your game. If you can do that, then your qualities will come through. He's a player I really like. I love his care with the ball, his passing, and his efficiency. He gets in the box, he gets goals, and he maybe could have had a hat-trick, talking about the Ross County game. Interestingly, he said this about a new contract. It's a door that's open for him. He maybe hasn't played as much as he would like, but that's his responsibility. I think he would like to be here, but you have to prove it consistently. It was a clean slate over pre-season, and he did very well. with the ball and against the ball, which is important. You have to be able to play without the ball, and he has demonstrated that. That kind of points to me that Brendan Rodgers will be following up on those words and maybe saying to the Celtic hierarchy, get David Turnbull on an extended contract or a new contract.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case already, and they're just going through the final details. I don't think it would be within Celtic's best interest to be playing a player that only has a year left on their deal, because then you're actively just giving him a stage to perform for his next club. I would much rather that Celtic have their assets, and Turnbull still is an asset. I think he's 24, 25 years old now. He's still a player that Celtic could make a profit on if they had him on extended terms. So I expect Celtic to offer him a new, maybe 2-3 year contract, maybe similar to the Stuart Armstrong and Ryan Christie deals of the past. You can see a lot of similarities in their game. The two of them, obviously Scottish players, but creative midfielders as well. I think the two games in particular, that Athletic Club game and this game, the game that happened a couple of days ago at the weekend, were a real eye-opener for me, because I don't know, maybe I'd forgotten about how good Turnbull could be, or maybe Ange Postecoglou wasn't getting the best out of him in the second season. I know he only had fleeting appearances from the bench, but I feel like it was a really good showcase of how good a player that David Turnbull can be, and he was a player that's... I certainly was excited when Celtic were signing him the second time around in 2020, when we were going for that 10 in a row season, the season that shall not be named. But he was the bright spark. He was basically the only bright spark in that season.
Yeah.
He looked like he was going to be Celtic's, not anchor, but their creative outlet in the midfield for years to come. Yes, he played a lot of games in Postecoglou's first season, but second season he was in and out of the team. 2 goals at the weekend. You know, his comments after the game as well, I don't know if you caught them, but he said he wants to stay at the club. I didn't know that was an avenue that was still open. I thought he was basically resigned to leaving the club in the summer, or that's the perception that I got off of him, and the way he was I don't know, the way he was carrying himself, but it seems as if he's happy and he wants to stay at the club. So if all parties can agree a deal, then I think that would be the best for both worlds.
What I did like about the comments on Saturday when he was standing talking to Matt O'Reilly was Matt O'Reilly talking about him and saying, nobody deserves it more than this guy. And what that told me was like that he was still working hard. He got his head down, and his attitude was always been spot on. Just maybe never got the game time that he deserved. But that's managers are horses for courses, aren't they? But I love the fact that Matt O'Reilly said that about him, and he was just sort of, it was a kind of nudge. It was like, this guy's a player. Don't forget it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I loved that. I love Matt. I'm kind of like, I can't love Matt O'Reilly anymore, but I'm liking what he's saying. It's what he's not saying, actually, the dot and leaving it hanging. But that's fine. But I'm also liking the fact
measured.
But he's alluding to this era now. That era's gone. The new manager's in. The old manager has gone and left. And I think a lot of Celtic supporters just, I don't care what Ange does now. I don't care about Tottenham. I don't care about how they set up and what's going on there. Lots of people still talking about it. I don't care. Brendan Rodgers in charge of Celtic. Matt O'Reilly's signposting that and saying, this man's in charge. Guys like this player here, i.e. Turnbull, you'll soon see them go because the manager's going to get the best out of them. You know, and every manager has, you know, I used to love how Ange said he never really had his favourites. He kind of did, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
he kind of did.
Look at the players that played.
Two of his favourites, yes, exactly. So I think, again, another Matt O'Reilly alluding to that maybe David Turnbull suffered from the fact that the previous manager maybe had his favourites, but don't forget how good a player he is and what he can do for the club. Manchester Bogan, agree with Brendan Rodgers. If Turnbull wants to play, then it's up to him to make himself undroppable. 2 goals and an assist is a good start. It is. And you forget that Turnbull's only 24, says Hazelfin. Feels as if he's been about for years. Good pass to Abada for Kyogo. It certainly was. And just a non-so-subtle reminder that I've always rated Turnbull as a baller. Good players always fit into systems, don't they? Or you shoehorn them in. Can't get enough good players in your team. I always said that. Jason Lee, he has super happy feelings about Turnbull this year, and he comes back
surprise.
And says, I think But again, going back to that, what was the thing we said when Brendan Rodgers came in? He makes players better, right? Mm-hmm. And he can turn players into the finished article. He did it with James Maddison, didn't he? Now, if you're Brendan Rodgers, you're saying, look, I took this boy and I made him a £40 million footballer. If you listen and learn and, allied to your known natural talent and ability, and he's saying to Turnbull, you've got all the talent in the world, it'd be a shame if you didn't exploit that full potential. At Celtic, this is the ideal place to do it. If you listen to me, I'll help you. You'll achieve what you want here. So I'm on board with that. I'm on board with what Matt O'Reilly said, and and I think you can also do it to the likes of Haggerty as well and O'Reilly. So and I want all of them. I want a bun fight for those midfield jerseys. I want Thiago Home in that mix as well. I want them all scrapping like Billy for those starting jerseys. That friendly rivalry that you get. That when if you're not doing it, then somebody's coming in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Brendan Rodgers wants to create. And good, because it augurs well, doesn't it? Because you get every player on their mettle bringing their A game. That's exactly what you want.
Competition for spots. I really do like that comparison, especially with James Maddison. But there's probably an even bigger comparison as well, you could say, with regard to Coutinho. Because, he made James Maddison a £40 million player at Leicester. He made Coutinho an £142 million player at Liverpool to Barcelona. So he's got a track record, especially with these attacking midfielders and central players. Yes, he's good with wingers. We've spoken about that before. You look at guys like Raheem Sterling, look at Forrest and Roberts when he was at Celtic, look at Harvey Barnes when he was at Leicester. He's got a track record with these, but in terms of attacking midfielders and central midfielders with a more attacking side to their game, with an attacking output, he seems to pass with flying colours at getting the most out of these players. Competition is always good in this spot. Midfield, just as a position, that is a competitive place to begin with, because you're scrapping for the ball, you're scrapping for control in the middle of the park. So yes, I think it's only right that there should be competition in order to get in a midfield as well, because that breeds success and it breeds competitiveness. And yeah, I couldn't be more happy with where the midfield is at the moment. If Haggerty was to go, then that would be a shame and an annoyance, because he's such a good player. But I would trust the scouting system to come in and bring in somebody of similar quality that can level up the team again.
And also like Matt O'Reilly, because he's off the mark first game of the season. Took him ages last season. He got really annoyed about that, didn't he?
7 months.
He just looked like a guy who was just happy. He was like, "Yep, I'm off the mark. Cool."
I think there should have been a bleeper after he scored that first goal, because I seen what he mouthed after he scored that goal, and it wasn't acceptable for 10:38 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, I think he'll be happy that he's off the mark in the first game of the season rather than the 25th or 30th game of the season. He'll be delighted that that's the case, and he should have more goals in his game. Very lopsided last season, 14 assists, but I think he only got 4 or 5 goals in all competitions. O'Reilly should be getting round about the same for goals and assists, in my opinion. If he can get maybe like 12 goals and 12, 13 assists, I think that'd be an incredible season, as long as he's
that upped him last season, Ryan. That really upped him, which is why he rattled that into the net and made sure he scored, because the ball bounced.
No side foot.
I thought he could have took it earlier, but he waited and waited and waited, and rattle laces right through it. You're not saving it, you know what I mean? Bottom line. So, and I like that, and everybody knows my thoughts on this. If you're a regular viewer and listener on this, you'll know my thoughts on Matt O'Reilly. I think he's a brilliant talent, and I just like the fact that he seems to be listening to the manager, doesn't he? And I love that.
He likes this manager. I mean, it's not to say he didn't like the last manager, but I think he prefers the way this manager operates, and you can tell just by the wee sound bites he's been giving out. He's a measured guy. He's a highly intelligent player. You can see that with regard to his interviews and with regard to the moves that he's made early on in his career. He refused terms with Fulham because he wasn't going to get a game for their first team, so he moved down a couple of divisions to MK Dons in order to get a first team spot. He waited 6 months for his move, trained with MK Dons, then signed with them professionally. So he's a guy that has his career worked out, or his career mapped out in terms of where he needs to be and at what time in his career. So yeah, he's an intelligent guy. I'm just happy that he put his laces through that shot for the fourth goal rather than side it, because he's a guy that's almost too smart for his own good. He wants to score this perfect goal in which it'll just tickle the net. No, just get it through your laces and get it in the back of the net. You know, he's got the ability, and he looks happy. I think just judging by, he's a popular guy. You can tell on Instagram as well, with the players comment on each other's photos and that he is a popular guy in around the dressing room. But he looks really, really happy in this Celtic team, and I think that spells danger for the rest of the league and their European adversaries.
Alan Woods, Brendan will be all over everything, and we'll have Matt O'Reilly shooting and training all the time. I hope he does, because I think he'd be a wonderful goal-scoring asset, and he can be if he produces more finishes like that, which
should be more of an aerial presence as well, because he's tall.
He's a big guy, yeah, indeed. Now, Rocky, were you impressed with Rocky?
I was, yeah. It was I think he maybe could have done a wee bit better for Ross County's first goal. I think it was him that missed out on the header. But Jordan White's a very, very difficult player to come up against. Celtic have got history with him with regard to conceding goals to him. He seems to score against both Celtic and Rangers, so he's clearly a big game player. He comes up in the big moments. But apart from that, maybe a couple of slack passes, but I thought there was a couple of players he reminded me of. It was like a mixture of Ajer and Simonovic, I think.
Yes.
Because he's mobile on the ball, but he can pass the ball as well. He likes those drives forward like Ajer did, but he's maybe got the defensive capabilities of Joseph Simonovic, who was a good player out with the injuries at Celtic. So, yeah, you can see why Celtic have spent a wee bit more money with regards to 4 million, 5 million for him, because he just looks more polished than maybe some of the other players that we signed. He looks like a guy that's instantly going to come in and command a first team place. With Starfelt leaving, it looks as if it's his place to lose at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I thought him and Carter Vickers looked very comfortable together, and once it's a real partnership and it gels, then yeah, it all goes well for the future. Now, Yang came on as well. Ryan, lots of Celtic supporters are really excited by Yang. Have to say, I loved his wee cameo as well, and looking forward to seeing more of him. Without a doubt.
I think maybe once he settles down just a tad, I think maybe he's trying to overplay it a bit because he's overexcited and happy to be joining the club. It's not as if he's been itching for the move for months on end, trying to get out of his former club to make the move to Scotland. But you like to see that at the end of the day. I've came round with that, the fact that it is a life-changing move for him, and it is a massive step up in, well, maybe not with the quality of the league for starters. Yes, it is a step up. You don't want to be too offensive to the K-League 1, but in terms of the prestige of Celtic and what that can give you in your career, it is a massive step up in situations and surroundings. I think he does look very keen to get on the ball and make things happen, but there's enough raw attributes there to suggest that he'll be another really good signing for Celtic. Young Player of the Year last season in the K-League 1. He's got, as I said before, all those raw attributes, but if there's anybody that can put them all together and make him into a really good player, it'll be Brendan Rodgers and Harry Kewell on the side. He's been having these one-on-one sort of workshops with the wingers. Daizen Maeda's owed a lot of his current success to Harry Kewell. I'm sure it'll be the same for a few others. And Yang will be the next, I think, in that conveyor belt of wingers that improve at Celtic. You're hoping he can stake his claim and challenge the players that are in and around the first team already, because competition is good in every position. We need 4 or 5 wingers that can come in at the drop of a hat and make a difference in the team, and it seems as if Yang can do that. So yeah, a couple of first performances have been pretty good, and I'm looking forward to seeing him break his duck for Celtic, hopefully in the near future, in terms of a goal.
And Lovett comes in as well, says can't wait to see Marco Tilio too. I think he'll be a cracking signing and he'll destroy teams in the league. We'll wait and see if that appears to be the case. But yeah, lots
Forgotten
of high
man,
hopes
isn't he? Almost
Marco Tilio, yeah. So yeah, he will. Tim Anon also coming in saying he's looking forward to seeing Tilio as well. So yeah, I mean I thought Saturday, good win. Lots to be positive about. Couple of negatives as well. Obviously, we've spoken about it at length about Joe Hart, the goalkeeper. I think you touched on it as well, didn't you? So
yeah,
I think it's not. Everybody knows Celtic need a new goalkeeper, don't they? Or a goalkeeper to come in and certainly challenge Joe Hart, and if not, take the gloves off him. So I think I think Celtic and Brendan Rodgers are well aware of that. So, yeah, it remains to be seen what Celtic do about that. Still plenty of time in the window for that to be addressed. And here's hoping it is addressed moving forward, Ryan.
I would absolutely agree with that. It's getting to the point that we have seen, unfortunately, we have seen Joe Hart cost us in Europe. You look at that Leipzig goal, for example, where he passed it straight to players of a admittedly higher quality than Celtic, some of their youngsters in their team. I mean, Szoboszlai has just moved to Liverpool for about 60 million. So that's the fees that they can ask for players. They're high quality players. You can't give them opportunities like that. But I'm starting to see the mistakes that were happening in Europe over the past 2 seasons slowly creep into his domestic performances. I don't know about you, Tony. I felt like he looked like a bit of a shaky character or a nervous character in that goals in the weekend. You look at the Simon Murray incident in the first half, the first 10, 15 minutes. On another day, a smarter striker goes down and that's a penalty, and all of a sudden Celtic are under the cosh. I thought maybe Simon Murray was a bit too honest. I know VAR can overturn decisions if it was given in Ross County's favour, but I think a smarter striker makes the most of that and gets a penalty out of that. Yeah, I think there's too much nervousness in his game, which could be just a natural decline due to his age, and you've got to be proactive in these situations. Celtic have got to put sentimentality to one side when it comes to these players. Yes, he's been a good servant for the past 2 seasons, but at the same time, Celtic should always be striving for better if it's available. They should be striving for that even if they were to bring in a better player. Then if another player was to come along, then they should strive for that. It's all about getting the best player for Celtic at that moment in time. Sentimentality can only get you so far. We've seen that happen in the past with players. You look at what happens when a player plays a season too long. Biggest example you could probably make in that regard would be Scott Brown in the 2020-21 season. We mentioned that season twice. That's terrible. But yeah, I think it's getting to that point where Celtic need a new goalkeeper, and it's becoming quite obvious, even in the league. If Celtic can maybe get a goalkeeper that's 10 or so years younger, that's got a bit more got a higher ceiling in the next couple of years, then I would be all for that. The Lovakovic rumour's gone a wee bit quiet, but he would be the ideal sort of candidate for Celtic to come in, and he would command a first team spot instantly.
Lots of comments coming in about that, so I'll take some. First of all, Charlie McGarvey saying to me, there are no negatives, Tony, only learning opportunities. Slap the wrist for your old dad here.
Either a blessing or a lesson.
Yes, indeed. Now, Steve McGrory comes in. How you doing, Steve? Regular contributor. I actually saw Steve on Saturday because I was at the game with my father as a spectator, and I met Steve, so good to see you again, fella. A goalkeeper, a left back, a Starfelt replacement, and a first team ready forward, and Celtic are good to go, says Steve. You agree with that, Ryan? You happy with that?
I would agree with all of those positions that are mentioned. I would agree. I think left back as well is a position that is definitely maybe needing to be improved. Greg Taylor's been a great player for Celtic as well, but I just don't know how much he fits in a Brendan Rodgers team. I think you maybe need somebody a bit more imposing down that side. That's maybe why Ralston's getting a look in the team. Also due to the fact that Alistair Johnson is injured at this point in time, but Ralston is very much a bustling player that gets involved with the physicality of a game. Brendan Rodgers likes his defenders to do that side, and they need to be outputs, and Ralston is a good crosser of the ball. So it remains to be seen where Taylor goes. I'd love it to be the position where he's fighting it out with another player for the left back position. You would hope that would have been Bernabei, but I don't even think he was on the bench at the weekend. So it remains to be seen what his situation is, because he was playing. He's playing against Athletic Club, and then he wasn't on the bench at the weekend. So that's a bit of an issue, I would say, that needs to be resolved. But I think another left back is needed. But a goalkeeper, if I was to pick one position that needs improved upon, like urgently, I think it's goalkeeper, because that position's a surefire place to cost you points if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
If a goalkeeper makes a mistake 99 times out of 100, you're going to concede a goal or you're going to drop points. So it's a position that needs remedied and resolved, in all honesty, before anything else happens. There'll be stiffer tests this season in Ross County, but at the same time, 2 goals conceded. It isn't a great look in the first day of the season.
Starting on Sunday at Pretoria, for a stiffer test all week.
Very much so.
David Holmes, Joe Hart's a great guy, but his best days are behind him. Thomas Gallagher says, get off Joe Hart's back. He's still a top keeper, and I'll be happy to have him as number 1. all about opinions, Thomas and David. So yeah, contrasting opinions there. AGSC Tech says we're all talking Hart into decline by micro analysis. We have to stop being so analytical on him. We're only going with what we're seeing. AGSC Tech, but I still think
I don't even think it's analytical at this point. I think it's just optical at this point.
Yeah.
You can see it as a position of weakness now for Celtic. And next week, Celtic will be coming up against Bojan Miovski, who has a step up on Jordan White. He's a far better striker.
Yeah.
So, and Duke as well. Duke's a good striker, so he will be tested next week. And you need to see how it happens.
He's a fan. Cameron Carter-Vickers' reaction to the Hart ball in the chest. Never seen Carter-Vickers react before. Usually very calm. Hazel loves Hart, but for the Champions League, it has to be soon. So it's a new goalkeeper. And love it saying Brendan must see Joe Hart as a risk going by recent games. And one but saying the time's right for new option. Joe has been great for the past couple of seasons. So say it's I'm not disputing. Both? Yeah, I'm not disputing the man's ability. I think he's been a wonderful keeper for Celtic, but a wonderful addition to the squad, and his character and personality in the dressing room has been fantastic. But as you say, you're just looking at the optics of it all now, and Celtic, by all accounts, are still in the market for a new goalkeeper. So that tells you its own story. Whether they get that new goalkeeper in before the end of the transfer window, it's a watch this space, isn't it?
So, very much is, yeah.
But yes, we move on to Pittodrie on Sunday. We'll preview that in due course. Anything else caught your eye, Ryan, over the weekend that you wanted to bring up?
I think it's more, again, not to dwell on the outcome or the outgoings of the team, but, you know, a player that I think we both really had high hopes for. I think Hayden as well had high hopes for him. Haksabanovic didn't even think he got on the bench at the weekend. He was on the bench for the game against Athletic Club, but he was one of the few players that didn't make his way onto the pitch in the second half. It's a bit of a weird one. I think, you know, I am a fan of his ability, and I think there is a good player in there, but I think ability only gets you so far when your application isn't there, and I think he does flatter to deceive in a lot of games, especially last season. Especially when he started in games, he looks like he was a bit of a wallflower for a lot of those games, and it seems as if Brendan Rodgers is sussed him out quite quickly of what he's going to get or what he won't get with regard to Haksabanovic. So I think he might be on his way out.
I think again, go back to trusting processes and trusting the manager. This manager has watched him since he came in, and he's not featured much. And when he has featured, he hasn't done too much. So wouldn't want to speculate on what's wrong with Haksabanovic, because there's definitely a player in there. But whatever's happening at this moment in time, it's not happening. There's a circuit not connecting, isn't there? So he's basically so. And so certainly the rumour mill has started with people saying that he's been instructed, you know, or his agent's been instructed to get him another club. That's yet to be confirmed. But Gordon Coney comes in and says Hacks has failed to take his chance time after time, only himself to blame. And I think going back to what Brendan Rodgers' comments were about Turnbull, you have to be, it's your responsibility. And he's told every player that. So I think Haksabanovic is one of those that he's maybe looked at and thought, you know, it's not going to happen, or it might not happen under his watch. So, and as you say, Haksabanovic has always been a great impact player. The games where he started, he has flattered to deceive, and you've expected more. He's had fleeting moments, and I think everybody had high hopes for him, and could still have high hopes for him, but going to have to do something to change that mindset that the manager clearly has of him at this moment in time.
Yeah, could have been one of Celtic's top goal scorers against Rangers last season with the amount of chances he had, especially coming off the bench in the second half of games. Didn't take any of those chances, but it's all about taking your chance when the opportunity does come along. I know that was last season, previous manager, he talks about the clean slate, but sometimes there's just players that don't fit in with a new manager's style, whatever the reason is. It seems as if Rodgers likes his wingers to be mobile, athletic, and constantly on the move. Some maybe attributes there that Haksabanovic isn't the greatest at. I think he's better when he's taking on players, but even so, he's not really doing that when he is given the opportunity. He seems to like to pass to his man instead of taking a man on, which I think was the reason we were so excited about him in the first place. I remember his debut against Ross County when he came onto the pitch, and instantly he went past the throw-in line to the byline and beat a couple of players with a bit of speed. I don't know what happened to that player. That was a player that I was really, really excited to see. I thought, this guy's going to make an impact. He could be the difference both in Europe and domestically. Last season, yes, he did chip in with a couple of goals domestically, some really good goals. But I think he was a victim of time as well. He got into his he got into his best form, and then the World Cup came along. He awarded the Player of the Month for November, which was like half a month, and then get injured after the press conference before the first game back, which was against Aberdeen. So that was a blow, and he was always playing catch up. But as much as you take these factors into account, you've got to make the impact when you are on the pitch. And unfortunately for Haksabanovic, especially when he started games, he hasn't done that. He's flattered to deceive. Maybe he's not doing enough in training. Maybe he is applying himself, and he's just not the right player for Brendan Rodgers' style. But at the end of the day, Brendan Rodgers is the man that's getting paid the big bucks to make the decisions, and he's not gonna let people stand in the way of that. He's gonna have to let some players fall by the wayside, and it looks as if Haksabanovic might be one of them.
Helen Feet comes in and says, "Great chat. Need to go. Keep fit Monday. Enjoy." Helen, appreciate that. We've gone nearly the hour. There you go. First day back, right? Nearly the hour. We could talk for hours on end about Celtic and obviously the events of the weekend and the future. But yeah, we shall wrap it up there. We move on to Pittodrie, the Granite City, on Sunday. We will no doubt talk about that in greater detail and greater length as the days go by. But yep, Celtic 4, Ross County 2, unfurling of the flag, 3 points, Ryan. It's what was required. Lots of things to chew upon. But yeah, certainly Celtic in the groove of sorts again, Ryan. In the groove of sorts.
In the attacking groove. I think the defence still has a wee bit to work on, but in the groove attacking wise, and with Celtic's attack, if they're in the groove, then we're going to outscore the majority of the majority of the teams that we face. So as long as we've got that side sorted, then I think we can let them away with some defensive lapses in the first day of the season.
Sam Hart comes in. Great show. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sam, regular contributor and commenter on articles as well on the website. So appreciate that, Sam. And Sean Bush comes in. Good show, boys. Cheers. We endeavour to try Jerry O'Raw. Great show today. Welcome back, Tori. Yep, gave myself a big fanfare, didn't I? But there you go. Good to be back. Enjoyed my break. Hey, let's get to work. I think a famous man said that, didn't he? Welcome back.
The incumbent said
yes,
that.
indeed. Yes, he did indeed. Good show, lads. The daddy is back. Certainly not. If you're meaning daddy in terms of old guy, I'll take that. Certainly. No other way. But there you go. Cheers, guys, and commenters says love it. Yep, thanks very much, guys. We can't do it without you. And as we do, and you might think that we bang this drum a lot by urging you, or asking you, or imploring you to subscribe, but it's crucial to us that we keep getting subscribers, because that way we're able to provide the YouTube videos for free and also the articles online for nominal fees. And that's what helps us, and we try and endeavour to provide you with top quality Celtic football journalism. And if you subscribe to the Celtic Way website, that helps us do that every day. And it's you click of a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. There is something on that website for everybody, Ryan. Isn't there something on the YouTube videos as well? You've probably seen the past couple of weeks we've started doing a YouTube video called My 5 Celtic Moments That Made Me. Trying to turn that into a regular feature with various Celtic players, ex-managers, Celtic supporters, whoever, just people with a Celtic connection, and we hope you're enjoying them. As I say, we're trying to make that a regular feature too. So we're trying to cover all bases. There's the scouting reports from Stuart Ross. There's data analysis from Ducal James and Alan Morrison, the wonderful Ducal James and Alan Morrison. Ryan also doing stat bombing videos as well. I try and do the big interviews, the big writes, and we all three of us, myself, Ryan, and Aidan, give their opinion pieces on a daily basis via the newsletter, which you get if you subscribe to the website. You get that first before it becomes an article on the website the next day. So we try and endeavour to provide you with a service, but we can only do it if you guys help us in the process as well. There was up to 600 watching the morning briefing live today. We genuinely appreciate it. It's not lip service that we pay. We, as I say, we can't do it without you, and we love it, don't we, Ryan? It's good fun, or we try and endeavour to have good fun.
It's always good fun talking about Celtic. You know, it's a good community that we've built up here. It's been a very welcoming community as well from me starting. That's me been in over 3 months now, so I'm very much in the swing of things. But I'm enjoying the daily briefings. You know, and it gives me an excuse to talk even more about Celtic. Not as if I do that already enough too many times. You know, or too much throughout the day. So yeah, any excuse to talk about Celtic's good by me.
We thought we'd come back with a bang. It's an hour talking about the opening day of the season. Happy Monday, Ryan. First so. Of hopefully 38 happy Mondays over the course of the league season. Obviously, there'll be midweek games, but you know what I mean. You get the point. But Gordon Coney says, never a dull show, lads. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Love it. We all love it, guys. Too. Thanks very much. You are very kind, but that kindness and thankfulness and thoughtfulness is reciprocated big time. Okay, so we shall see you tomorrow. Have a half a Monday. I dare say you won't. We'll endeavour to do it all again tomorrow, 10 o'clock, or for the benefit of Peak Meet G, 10 o'clock-ish, isn't it? But I think we were on time today, weren't we? So there you go. But it's good to be back. I've missed it. You always miss things about Celtic when you're not there, but I took some time to just recharge and wind down. Quiet time it was. Didn't go anywhere. Just dealt with the dogs and stuff. But we're back with a bang now. Here we go. Bring it on, Ryan.
As Fabrizio Romano would say, here we go. Tony, back confirmed after a loan spell away with annual leave.
Cheers, guys. See you all tomorrow. Ryan, stellar contribution as always. Thank you, fella. Really appreciate it. Take care.